Just Eff It. Hi, I'm Romy.
Hi, and I'm Carla.
And together we are the
EFFing
Madres. We are here to invite you guys into stories of some inspiring madres
who have changed their lives through an Eff It moment. So here we go.
Just Eff It.
Good morning.
Morning. Happy Monday. So
You look so cozy in your weirdo sweater.
I was like, you look like you're dying in that LA heat, and I'm over here just like, fall is here.
Yeah. If we didn't film, I would be naked.
Yeah.
But,
Good call. If we didn't film, I'd probably be naked too. But
I know, right? Why
I'm
not?
trying to pretend that like fall is here, even though we're all going through global warming and burning to death. It's fine. It's fine,
yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah. All right.
So yeah, let's get this started. It's Monday. It's Motivation Monday. It's Eff It Madres that you are tuning into. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, welcome. I'm Romy. She's Carla, and we are the Eff It Madres. And this podcast basically tells stories of different moms who are going through their Eff It moment, that want to have their Eff It moment, that had an Eff It moment, that are in the middle of an Eff It moment, and they are going to share that with us. And we get to hear when they said, fuck it.
Yes, that's right. Madres, supporting Madres. Do the Eff It moment.
Correct. Who do we have on today, Carla?
So it's actually quite exciting because we both have never met this lady before. I met her via the internet. She is from a mom online community that I joined called Hey Mama. And she reached out to me because I had put up something about our podcast and she loved it. And so she shared a bit of her Eff It moment with me, which, to be quite honest, there were a lot of bits there. So I'm just going to let her, like, when we start asking the questions, let her just jump into it. But she did a lot, like, when her kid was, like, really little. So I know she's published a book and there's something else that she's done. So
goals right there.
Yeah. I know. She's done a lot. That's why I'm like, I'm not even going to try to, I'd have to like have my phone in front of me reading and I'm just not going to do that. So I'll let her do it.
I'm excited. I love getting to interview these moms that we don't know, that like we're meeting via the web.
I know. It's exciting. It's so exciting. So we will be bringing her in momentarily. Okay. Christine McGlinchey, welcome to the Eff It Madre podcast. We're very happy to have you. She reached out to me when I had put a post on the Hey Mama women. It's a very cool platform for moms that like are entrepreneurs and stuff. And so she reached out and she shared her Eff It moment with me. And I was like, awesome. Let's have her on the show. Let's have her share. So welcome and thank you for being on the show. So we have a list of questions. So we're just going to jump right in. So our first question to you is, when did you decide to Eff It and why?
So my Eff It moment was leaving my very corporate job as a PR manager. I was pregnant with my daughter, so my first child, and I said, you know what, like F this job because I'm not going to be able to show up in motherhood like I want. I was working 16-hour days. I was traveling for weeks at a time. And so that was the moment where I was like, all right, this is what gets to happen. And from there, I started my own company, really not knowing what to do. My daughter was 2 weeks old and
oh my God,
the rest is history.
Okay, just hearing you say 2 weeks, I'm like, at 2 weeks, I couldn't even like wrap my head around like reality or life. So even to be processing like business ideas, you know, with a 2-week-old child, like you were like on it.
I was sobbing in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks like that. Wow, that's incredible.
So incredible because you were already like thinking about what you needed to do in the midst of this huge life-changing experience. So, wow.
Yeah.
How long were you in a corporate world, the PR?
So I was in PR for over 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was working with hospitality brands, really large companies. I was in-house at like corporate companies. Then I went to an agency. Then I went back in-house to a company. But, I always knew that that wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. It's one of those things where like your identity gets so caught up in a career. And
yes.
Yeah, to be completely honest, like I thought I was gonna like just work up the corporate ladder, like the American dream. I'm a first generation American, so it was very important for my parents to have that stability of like a 401k and health
Yeah.
insurance. Like that
Yep.
was really ingrained in me
Yeah.
from childhood. So I kind of just like followed that narrative, followed that story. Like, okay, the only way to make money, the only way to be successful is to work for somebody else. So it was really like a lot of healing. Like that effort moment brought a lot of healing and, a lot. Like Romy was saying, it was, a crazy experience. But at the end of the day, it was really what my soul desired, what my soul is here for, and to
Yeah.
really make an impact and serve others rather than be like, living in this Halloween costume my whole life.
I mean, that the whole idea behind the health insurance and all that, I feel that so much. We grab onto this security and I think it gets stronger because there were times in my life before I was a mom where like I had jobs that didn't offer all of that, and it was kind of
Yeah.
like fly by the seat of your pants. I don't need any of that. And then like you have a kid and you're like, I need the health insurance, I need the 401k. Like you live in this like grabbing onto, yes, this American
Yeah.
idea of what we need to be doing. So I'm
Right.
like, I love that you were okay exploring getting out of that. My question would be like, what did you do about it then at 2 weeks old with the baby, deciding like, how did you do
Mhm.
this?
Well, I was like planting the seeds like in my mind, like, okay, I'm pregnant, like this is what like I get to do now. I get to leave this corporate job so I can be present and actually with my child because I
Yes.
was thinking, I live in Miami. My commute to work was like 2 hours. My commute back home was 2 hours, plus
Oh my
working these
God.
long days where there were no boundaries. People
Right.
were just like calling me all the time, like wanting things, working on weekends. The boundaries were so blurred. And, I felt like, and, as you were saying, I kind of did it backwards. I like went away from all of the
Yeah.
security and the stability. And I was like, all right, like, let's figure it out. Um, but it was, like hustling,
hmm
like getting like manifestation, like at its best, like conspiring with the universe to be
Yes.
like, all right, universe, this is what's happening. Like,
Yes.
this is my highest path. This is for my greatest good. So let's make it happen. Like, it was all such a blur. But when I tell you that everything has worked out, it's been 4 years now that my daughter is, 3.5. I have a 7-month-old son. And when I tell you, like, that was one of the most pivotal, life changing moments I've ever made, like the scariest, but
Yeah.
also the most like instrumental, like propelled me, like quantum leapt me
Yeah.
into my destiny
What job
completely.
did you go into?
Yeah. So at first in the beginning stages of my company, again, like that, I was like teaming up with other PR people, like helping them do things, like anything that would give me like flexibility, anything that I didn't have like any kind of attachment to, like just quick jobs that I could do like while the baby was sleeping or while my husband was home taking care of her, like really quick things. Um, and then, the pandemic hit and we all shifted.
Did you make this decision like right before pandemic?
So this was, yeah, my daughter was born in 2019.
Wow. Okay.
So I was pregnant in 2018. She was born a couple months before the pandemic really hit into it's. I'm like, timelines are like so blurry right now. I'm like,
I
what,
know.
Because when you say that, it really just
right.
helps us all understand like you had your child and then you made this
Hmm.
big bold move without even knowing that the
Right.
pandemic would happen.
Exactly, which is crazy in itself
Yeah.
because I would have gotten laid off from my job
Right. That's what
either
I'm saying.
way.
That's why it's
Right.
important to kind of when I hear moms tell stories about that time, I'm like, that was a shift that happened in your universe before you even knew what was about to go down.
Yeah.
Right. 100%.
I'm trying to wrap my head around because my next question is like, how did it make you feel? But like, literally trying to wrap my head around you having had your baby, and in 2 weeks, you're making these huge decisions. I was so hormonal in those first 2 weeks, and so
Mhm.
here you are, not only dealing with the postpartum, but you're making a pivotal, life changing decision. How did it make you feel?
You know what? Ah, gosh. And the work that I do now, is very tied in business and in motherhood, right? So like now I get to help women who are also wanting to leave their corporate profession, who are stepping into motherhood, who are trying to conceive. So I
Mm.
became an intuitive mentor. So I actually do
Wow.
readings. I do energy readings. I use the Akashic records. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Akashic records
I
are,
don't.
okay, it's basically like a metaphysical concept. It's
Okay.
like consciousness that you can tap into,
Mm.
and you can read the energy, and it has our past lives, it has our present life, like future possibilities. So when you go into the Akashic records, like I tell people, it's kind of like Google for your soul. Like imagine like
Mm.
going into like a metaphysical realm of like Googling.
How did you learn how to do this? How did you know that this was something you could do or tap into?
Yeah,
Which, Carla, this is right up your alley. You love this stuff.
it is.
Like, how did you know you could do this?
So I've always been like an intuitive, like very intuitive, very empathetic, like very sensitive to energy. So like going back again to the pandemic, right? The like life shut down.
Mhm.
People were doing like, it was kind of like a spiritual awakening in and of itself. Like the first initiation was definitely motherhood. Motherhood is a
Yeah.
portal. Like you
Yes.
do not come out of motherhood the same.
No.
No,
No.
no.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this crazy portal where like you are rebirthed a
Yes.
new woman
Yes.
who has a baby. Um, so it was like that initiation. And then COVID came, and my spiritual practice, my spiritual learning just kind of like unraveled from like that motherhood portal. I was like open to so much more. And I have a spiritual mentor. Her name is Nikki Novo, who I've been in community with for, again, over a decade. And during the pandemic, she actually launched a course, a certification program
Mm.
for intuitive training. And it's
Mm.
shamanic principles. So
Mhm.
it's like based on shamanism, energy healing. During the pandemic, I also was attuned in Reiki. So it really gave me like these opportunities to
Wow.
kind of explore more.
What, like, just
Wow.
the fact that you went into that now that you're explaining it, and I'm like hearing this is again, Carla, those moments I'm just like, my mouth drops
Yeah.
because you don't like that's something you can do for people in the middle of a huge pandemic in our lives that we didn't see coming. You
Yes.
didn't see coming.
Mhm.
You've become a mother, you've tapped into that. Like, I have chills, and it's something that, like, your job would have been taken from you, and now you listen to your soul and you've got something to offer
Yeah.
mothers
Hmm.
in a time where I'm sure people just needed that so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. When we talk about divine timing, like you really can't
Yeah.
make this stuff up.
No.
Like,
No.
Seriously. I'm curious to know because I mean you were in the corporate world for a long time. Like, did you
Mhm.
have any of these inklings during that, or did it just kind of all of a sudden hit you like, you know what? I need to do this.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
it
curious
was
too.
there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? I've always known that I was different. Like, I've always known that I'm like, people are always, I have that healer energy. People are always coming to me, like wanting to be in my energy.
Yeah,
Like, so I really had no boundaries. I was like like I always like overdid. I was like a classic people pleaser. So, in this practice and in motherhood, it really, having a business and being a new mom really helped me heal that.
I
The
love
the
that.
the people pleasing and the
Mhm.
boundary, it actually like really healed that. And to be completely honest with you, 10 years ago, if you would have told me I would have been doing this, I would have been like, that feels really good, but that's probably not even possible. Like I
Yes.
100% would have been like, that doesn't even feel like a version of me that feels possible, because I was not taught to dream as a kid.
Ah,
And I'm
Mm.
I'm like a double Pisces, and my Leo, I have a Leo moon. All I did was daydream and fantasize and journal. Like I am like I've always been like a really spiritual, like flowy woman. But as a child, like all of that was like, nope, this is not safe. Like we assimilate to like
Yeah.
American culture. Like you are American, you need to work, like you need to hustle, like money is hard, you got to work for it. So it's been like, motherhood has been a really healing journey for me. It's given me a lot of the permission that I didn't have
That's what I was going to
before.
say. Hearing you is I want to just speak
Yeah.
on, like, we were raised a certain way, and then I feel like as moms, we like something just happens and we tap in
Yeah.
sometimes. I feel like even to like the inner child, like the parts of us that have been,
Mm,
pushed aside and when things are a certain way, and then you kind of go, like you said, through a rebirth. And it's you're just like the perfect story for this, because this is what we want women to do, is like tap into that effort part that goes
mhm.
after what you really, who you really are, and sometimes that
Yeah.
comes through our motherhood journey, that we're able to kind of like recircle back to that. And so, like,
Yeah.
what part of you, when you said like F it, I'm gonna actually tap into this, like how Carla, I want to just revisit what you said. What feelings did you have?
I was scared.
Mhm.
Like, everything of my identity was tied to that corporate job. Like everyone who knew me to be this person. But I always knew that I wasn't that person. It was
Yeah.
like, the facade. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how everyone wants me to show up. This is what everyone wants me to do. And I just went along with it. But like becoming a mother, I was like, I can't, this is not sustainable. Like I need
Right.
to be who I am. Like this soul chose me to guide them.
Mhm.
How am I going to guide them if I can't even like freaking guide myself?
If you're not authentically in line with who you are, our children are
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to sense that. They're going to feel that. I think so many of us grew up with our parents not tapping into who and what they wanted to do, and
Yeah.
that type of energy, we feel it as children. I think, I
Yeah.
mean, the one thing we're all trying to do is like let our children see us be happy and true to who we are.
Yeah. And I work with a lot of women who are experiencing difficult fertility journeys. So I
Mm.
actually do spirit baby readings where I talk to the energy of like their babies.
Carla's face.
Yes.
How do you have that moment where, like, I'm just trying to like wrap my head around it, where you really just are like, this is what I can, like, I have this gift. Like, when do you realize
Yeah.
what it is?
So, all of us, each and every single one of us has, first of all, our intuition. All of us have our intuition. All of us have abilities. It's just how much do you want to develop them? How much do you want to dive into them? To be completely honest, it takes like demolishing your whole being. It
Mm,
takes demolishing your whole essence, breaking yourself down, and rebuilding yourself from the
yes.
ground up.
Yes.
Like really, really root chakra. Like I work a lot with energies, like from the root up. And I have group programs where
Mhm.
like I teach women this because I'm like, it is so freaking powerful for us to live our dreams, for us
Yes.
to be abundant, for us to create. Like we literally have to deconstruct all of the narratives. It
Yes.
starts with that. Like,
Yeah.
who are you told to be? Like, look at your parents, start there. Like, ancestral work is super important to me. And once we start like peeling, I tell everyone like healing is layers. We're like these onions, right? Like we keep peeling the layer, another layer comes out, another layer, another layer.
Yes.
And also like finding the mentors, finding the people who do this work. And like through their programs, like you start healing, you start using your intuition, you start reading energy, and then from there it just blossoms like, oh shoot, like I can do this and now I can do that. It's really cool what happens when women tap into this work. Like I never freaking knew I could read the Akashic records and help women with business and then help women get pregnant. I was like, I would have never thought. But in just by practicing it and being it and living it,
Just saying F it and
that's
doing it. Like, you are just such a
just being an
true
effort.
person who like
Yeah.
had that moment that you really, I mean, you walked away from a corporate secure job that you had done for years as you have a new baby, which that's what we hang on to, is security. And you literally said,
Yep.
fuck it, and tapped into yourself, and you're doing this beautiful work. I mean, I can't even imagine what the, like, how you must feel in your soul at the end of the day, as opposed to doing PR and all of that, when you're doing this
Oh
for
my gosh.
women.
So, and let me tell you, the first year of my business made way more money than I made in my corporate job.
Love
Worked half
that.
Wow.
as less,
Yes, I know.
All
Like,
worked
right.
half as less, right?
Right.
And I
yeah.
was with my daughter.
Ah,
And
Yeah.
that's when we can say, like, I'm trusting myself, I'm trusting something greater than myself.
Yes.
Like, that's when we're releasing the ego. That's when, like, so that's why this work is so important and I'm so passionate about it. And it brings me to tears, like, honestly, every day because I'm just so grateful. I'm
Yes.
so grateful to help other women step into that and to like lead it. Like, I feel like my whole life has been F it moments where I'm like, everyone's like, oh, Christine's just doing something again. Like, she's, and I will say, like, I'm surrounded by skeptics, but I'm
Yeah.
okay with that too. People looked at me crazy. What do you mean you're leaving your corporate
Yeah.
job? Like, you have a child. No one believed me. They're like, no, you're going to go back to work. And they would ask me, my family, my friends would ask me, like, oh, when are you going to go get a job? I'm like, I have a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask, how did your like family, specifically because you said you're first generation, I am as well. So
Yeah.
like even being a hairdresser was like, what? So I'm like I was just gonna ask, like, how did your family deal with that?
Oh, they were like constantly on me, like, what are you doing? How are you working? And my mom was like, staying with us when the baby was born to,
Yeah.
help out around the house. And she would just constantly ask me, like, so what are you doing? Like, when are you going back to work after my maternity leave? And I was like, I'm not going back to work. And they're like, you're just like, you're going through some postpartum hormone stuff. Like, you're going to go back to work. And when I didn't go back to work, they were literally like, okay, so what are you doing? And I was like, I have clients,
I'm
I have
working.
income, like, I'm doing things. Like, who do you think I'm like going to talk to? Like, I have, like, I'm not like pretending here. Like, I have a job. And after a while, like, they just stopped asking because it's like, okay, somehow they're sustaining themselves. They're not coming and asking us for money. Like, they're not homeless. Like, that something's happening. So
There's
Oh,
something
wow.
interesting, I mean, even in Carla and I doing this, it's like we have our children, we have our jobs we have to do in order to pay. We want to do something. I think we
yeah.
both had this feeling, and it's, in our whole friendship, now we're both mothers, and through being mothers, it's brought Carla and I to a place where we want to do something for mothers. It's like something happens to you, and all the
Mm,
things that we did prior
yeah.
to this just didn't fill our soul. We felt something missing, and we both
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
just trying to figure out what it is, and here we are. But it's like, I don't think we would have even been here together doing this, I mean, if it wasn't for us both becoming mothers, and then connecting to women in a different way now, and looking at
Right.
things
100%.
differently.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I was always one of those women. And I think like all of us are programmed like this to a certain extent of like, oh, look at that mom. Like, I was so judgmental
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like moms. I
I
was
think we've all
so
had those moments.
Yes. Like, let's just say we
It's
all
horrible
made.
to admit. Yeah, but we all
Mhm.
have. We all have, let's be honest.
How can you get
Uh-huh.
to this space if you haven't almost? It's like you almost have to know the difference, and if you don't remember being
Mhm.
kind of like, oh, I judged them based on this, and they should have this together, they should have this job, they should look like this, like that's what it
Yeah.
should look like. And then you get into it, and then
Yeah.
you have to allow yourself to go through the like, fuck, I was wrong. That, like, that poor woman is, like, do whatever you want. Like, we're all trying to fucking figure
Yeah.
it out. Like, you have to lose that judgment
Uh-huh.
on women and mothers. But yeah, we
Yeah.
all
Yep.
we all have it either before we're moms or right when we become moms, you know?
Yep.
And like
Mhm.
Carla and
Mhm.
I had very different pregnancies, very different experiences becoming mothers. I was there when Carla was really emotional through her experience, and it's just all of our journeys are so different. They're just so different. My next question would be to you, what did this do for you and your family?
Oh my gosh, it opened up so much. We talk about like living a life of like freedom and
Yes.
abundance and like living our dreams. And like my dream was always just to be like, be able to travel, pick up when I want to. Like, the corporate always kept me in that box, like asking for vacation days. I tell you what I'm doing and then I go do it. I don't want your
Yep.
permission. Like, I'm literally not built to
Nope.
receive people's permission to do things. So that's why I'm like, my whole life has been F it because my
Yes.
whole life I've just been like, I don't care about your rules. I don't care what you're trying to say. And, like being boxed in, like that's why it was like crushing to my
I was
soul.
Yes.
just gonna say, how could you have done corporate for
Mm.
as long as you did, being this rebellious type?
Depression,
Yeah.
anxiety,
Yes.
Yeah.
toxic positivity.
Yes.
Mm.
You are speaking to my soul right now because I have that same attitude I always have, and that's where I get my freedom right now, just doing this, like some sort of like expression or helping. Like I needed it in my soul as well. Like it was missing. And I think when I became a mom, I almost lost that part of me and became like hanging on to the structure all of a sudden when I was never like that in my entire life. Like I always just did whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And it was very hard for anyone to tell me to do anything because I've never listened to anybody. But then I became a mom and it was like I started listening to all the rules of what it's like to be a mom. And I just started losing myself completely because of these boxed rules of what I was supposed to look like now as a mother. And then doing this, it and talking to moms like you and us doing this, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like my fucking soul feels alive again." Like we get off these interviews and I'm like, "I'm so grateful."
Mhm. Yeah. And that's why I really believe like healing begins before you even start like wanting to have a child. Like healing begins before like conception even crosses your minds, because the more that we can do, like the inner work, the healing, like it will save us so much
Yeah.
emotional stress. And there's always going to be triggers, there's always going to be stress, there's always going to be that. But like you were saying, Romy, like the more that you be your true, authentic, sovereign self before introducing a child
Yeah.
is like life changing for women. Because, like you said, you get lost in it because you're like, who the hell am I? Like, what am I doing? What do I like? Like, but if you could have those boundaries in place before where like, and we're always changing. So we give ourselves the permission to do that. But
Yes.
it like makes so much of a difference.
I love that you just said that. I love that you just said we're always changing and we give ourselves permission to do
Yeah.
that because Carla, right?
Mhm.
Isn't that so much the message? It's like you have permission
Oh
to
yeah.
change.
Yeah.
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 Like you should be changing.
Yeah.
You
You
should be changing.
absolutely should be changing. You can't, I mean, you cannot change. Like once you become,
Yeah.
no matter how hard you try to hold on to that old self, it's just not possible. There might be like
Mm.
some little like sprinkle bits of that old
Yeah.
person in you, but like you're not that person anymore. No matter if
Right.
you want it or not, you're just not.
Hmm.
And it's a good thing. Like we should be changing, ever evolving all the time. Like that's how we grow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So this then
wow.
for you and your family, like going back, because this conversation I'm like fully fascinated by, so I'm all over the place. But like, what do you feel that does, like for your children, like and your family?
And your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're very like non-conventional, I would suppose. The my husband was in hospitality. He was a general manager at
Mhm.
a hotel. We live in Miami, so
Yep.
as you know, like hotels completely shut down. He was also in like he was in a job where he wasn't like completely aligned on a soul level. So when COVID happened, he was laid off for gosh, almost a year, and he was like, "You know what? F it. I'm not going back to work."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cool."
And you guys have kids. You guys are like, fuck it. We're leaving our jobs with kids.
Yeah, pretty
Wow.
much. Because, with a lot of my clients who are in this space, they're like, how did you do it? What do you do? I always tell them, like, there's a bridge, there's a way, there's a possibility. The universe will never let you fall, like, you will never, and even at your rock bottom, like, you still won't be fully rock bottom. Like, there will be resources if you just believe and if you co-create and if you really like hold into that energy and you're doing things from a really intentional place. But so in building the business, I really see like my business as our family business, because
Mm.
he provides by taking care of the kids. We don't have to put our kids in daycare. That's a very important to me too, to be fully present and with my family. Like we lost years together.
He's home now, so he's like not working. He's home taking care of
Yep.
the children, being there. And this job is providing for your family.
Yes.
I'm
It's
done.
providing
Wow.
I'm done, you
for
guys. This is like it's so good.
Wow.
Like
yeah, like we've built a family business where we're like sustained,
Yeah.
expanding. He wasn't present like with my daughter because he was working such crazy hours, like working at a hotel. So he wasn't there for a lot of her milestones.
I know I mean, my ex-husband, my daughter's father, when she was born, as Carla, he was a chef at a hotel. So I come from hospitality as well.
Oh,
I was like a
yeah.
general manager at the time. He was a chef. Gone.
Hmm.
Those first 2 years, gone.
Yep.
Gone.
Yeah.
Like,
He would just get home in time just
yeah,
to watch her sleep,
yes. And then
basically.
back up at 5 a.m. just to get back to work, just to provide, just to make sure
Right.
that we had what we needed. And he missed out on so much.
Yeah. You know what I tell my clients? Like, there's always another way. Like,
Yeah.
there's always a there's always something different. Like, you can do business differently, you can do motherhood differently. Like, there is no linear, like, we are limitless. Like, we literally have all kinds of resources at our disposal. You just have to believe that it's possible. Like, that is literally like the law of manifestation and attraction, believing that something is possible.
I
You're
love all this
speaking.
stuff
Yeah,
so
this is
much. You don't
Carla. This
understand
is
how you're
like
singing
so
to my soul right now. That's why everybody's
Yeah, I
laughing, because
mean,
I literally like tell her this stuff every day, like manifesting, journaling, like with universe and all that stuff. Oh
yeah.
my God, I love
yes.
it.
I
I
mean, the
love it.
universe will provide. I'm telling you, like,
It
I'm a
will.
living, breathing example, and all of my clients are too. Like, the women who come to me, they're like, look, this is what I want to do. I'm like, great, let's do it. Like, let's do it. And, a lot of people judge my husband and I too, because they're like, why isn't he working? And what do you mean? And I'm like, this is like, and then I tell them, if I was one staying home, you would have no comments.
Hundred
So
percent.
why is it okay for you to like do the gender thing, right? So pull
Yeah.
the gender
And
card whenever it's convenient.
that needs to stop, because if a parent can be home and help with the family and the other partner can be the one providing, whether it be man or woman, that whole thing needs to end. It does not automatic that the
Yeah.
woman needs to be the person home doing all of that. Like, it can flip.
Yeah.
And I wish
Hmm.
that more
Yes.
we heard more stories of men being the one that did that and the woman following their dream and providing, because we have to stop with that. Oh, you had the baby, now you're home and he goes on to take care. Like, anyone can do anything,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do, however you want that family to look. So I just love that you're sharing that.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, it's quote unquote non-traditional, but I do see a lot of men stepping into that role. Like, we are healing a lot of the toxic masculinity
Yes.
in our society. Where like, we are deconstructing some of that like really heavy patriarchal pieces of our society, and I think it's like safer for men to step into this role and women to step into our roles, and however it works, because it's important for our family system to be together. It's important for our family system to not have to put our kids in daycare right now.
Yeah.
And if we can do that and we can still be maintaining and provided for, then why not? Like, why force it?
I'm wondering, like, do you feel like with the pandemic that a huge shift happened with families? Like, do you feel like, I don't know, I feel like people really connected to these kind of things that just weren't sitting right with a lot of us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was any way to avoid it. I think what COVID showed us was that we were so distracted. We're starting to get into that space again where people are
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm too busy, because I see it in my clients now where I'm like, zoom out, come on, like, ground your energy back, because you're distracting yourself again. Like, your eye, like your mind, your awareness, we're not going back to our spiritual practice. We're not sitting with ourselves because we're like, oh, well, I could go to the mall now and I could go out to eat and I could go
Right.
out do all these
Right.
things, which is needed. Like, you need to do all of that all of that stuff. But what COVID did was it made us have no choice but to sit with ourselves and each other. So it
Mhm.
gave us that connection back.
Yeah.
And then now we're slowly starting to lose it again. But enough of us, I feel like, are awakened and changed by it in order to like continue creating like that ripple effect and like,
Yes.
hey, remember like what we're trying to accomplish here. So I'm getting a lot. The past year, I've like a lot of women who are still women in six-figure tech jobs
Hmm.
getting pregnant, having issues with fertility, are now pregnant and leaving their jobs. They're like, look, I'm leaving my job. That's it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm leaving my job. And I'm like, yes, it's not, the great resignation round two. Like people, this is not sustainable. People don't want to be tied down, like working for other people, especially with like unethical values. I mean, we see how the corporate systems and corporate structures don't even provide for women and men who want to leave. So,
Yeah.
like, why? Why are we going to continue perpetuating that cycle if we're not being taken care of?
Yes.
Right. I think that was the good thing that came out of COVID was it really did make us look at like our family dynamics and be like,
Yes.
we really don't need it to be like this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay home. I don't need to go to an office. I can spend time with my family. And like it
Yeah.
just that was like I see. And like from all the clients, a lot of my clients that have told me like their husbands are now working at home a lot. Like
Yeah.
they are
Yeah.
actually spending time with their children when they had missed out on like, the first year, 2 years, or their first kid or
Mhm.
whatever. So I feel like that has been the silver lining with COVID
Yeah.
that like it's
Mhm.
kind of been eye opening for a lot of families and they're, just changing their structure.
I
So
mean, too, as you were saying that, Carla, like our society has been so individualistic. Like, like
Mm.
America is so heavily like on the individual, like, oh, it's me, my needs, me. Like, we're coming back together as like a family. Like, remember, if something happens to one person, it happens to all of us.
Yes.
all of
Like,
us, yeah.
I feel like the universe like shook us.
Yes, it really
like,
did.
wake up.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a wake up call. So how long now have you been doing what you're doing now?
It's intuitive mentoring. And I'm more like, you already know what you need to do. I'm just like helping you remember it. We're doing the work together. Um, my daughter is 3 now. So she's 3.5. And I have a 7-month-old son.
Hmm.
So I've been doing this for, yeah, just as long, 3.5 years.
And since you've been doing it, have any fears come up for you like during this journey? Do you ever revert back to like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? Like has there ever been a feeling?
Oh,
Yeah.
all the
Mm.
time, because healing happens in layers. So,
Yeah.
and what I find is when that fear or that resistance comes of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? When you feel like really small, it's because there's something like an expansion wants to happen. Like
Mm.
it's almost like you're shedding skin. It's
Mm.
like that snake. It's like, oh, okay, I'm outgrowing this layer and now I'm like getting into like a bigger layer. So whenever I have those moments of like pause or doubt or self-reflection, I'm like, okay, this is preparing me for something else. So how can I lean into it? Because we often want to like turn the other way. We want to say like, I mean, there's been moments where I'm like, maybe I should just get a job. Like that would probably like be so much easier, right? Like if I just got a job, maybe I'll just work for someone else. But I'm like, that's this being scared. Like that's the
Right.
scarcity, that's the fear.
Yeah.
And so I just go with it and I
So
keep on going.
how do you stay in your F it moment
Yeah.
momentum?
Yes.
I just keep telling myself, F it. Like, all right, you're scared. F it. Keep on going
Yes.
anyway. Like,
Yes.
I tell my clients all the time, fear is good. Fear is an indicator that something is happening, like a
Yes.
breakthrough is about to come
This
online.
is this is true. This is very true.
I love the
That is
Hmm.
shedding
very
the
true.
skin and like just knowing that like when those moments happen that we just need to kind of like shed it and keep going. And like I think the biggest thing
Yes.
Carla and I have said about this effort moment, which I was so grateful her husband had brought this to our attention, even just like how do you maintain it? How do you stay in it? How do you keep moving through it? Because you're gonna get
Mm,
those walls that are,
yeah.
ooh, this is my stopping point, or ooh, like that's too scary, or okay, this is I've gone too far almost. But it's like how do you say no? I'm just shedding another layer and I'm going into
Yeah.
a new part of this.
Also, like, ask for help and talk to people too,
That's what we've been
like,
saying.
we're
Yes.
not
Yes.
alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're not alone. So every time I'm feeling that, I'm like, who can I talk to? Who can like give me a little confidence boost? Like, who can I like vent with?
I mean, this
Yeah.
is why I love
We
doing this. We did this. We
yeah.
did an interview the other day, and we were having the same conversation about just like needing to have like community and how that used to be such a thing, like a village, and people work together, and you were like
Yes.
working off people's energy, and we became so isolated. And I feel like having this podcast and us getting to talk to moms, like it is like opening me up,
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
and like other stories. It's just doing something for
Yeah.
my soul that like I wasn't getting what advice would you give to a mother that is in the place that you were in? Like, what advice in that moment would you tell those moms
Hmm.
at that effort moment?
To trust. Like the biggest thing is trust. Like we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust the universe.
No.
We don't trust ourselves to be able to, because also like working at a corporate job for me was like a safety net. It was kind of like, a security blanket. Like, oh, I don't have to really do anything. I just need to show up, be miserable, get my job done. Like,
Get
Yep.
paid.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of like, but just trust, like if that doesn't feel good to you, if that doesn't resonate with you and you have these dreams of like living and being a certain way, trust that you can do that. Like it's possible. Like just trust it. And I like follow the breadcrumbs. Like from that,
I love
just
that.
commit to it, commit to your dreams, set the intention, follow the breadcrumbs because they will lead you to your dreams. Like there's no way that it's going to at all detour you. It's when we do the scariest things that have the most beautiful results,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
Yes.
trust, 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 trust. Like we create humans
Yeah. I
literally
know.
in our
That's like,
bodies, like with
I know.
noses and
yeah,
ears and eyes, and
hearts and
they
in like,
talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that you can't quit your job, okay? Because you literally
That's true.
create people.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me you can't quit your job because you created a tiny human who has a consciousness, a
Yes.
soul, and all the things.
Yeah.
It really is such a remarkable thing. It's like sometimes we forget just how incredible we make humans. Like we like
We take it for granted.
yes.
We're just like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
this is so natural. Yes, but so is like your dreams. Your dreams were put into your heart and into your soul for a reason, but we neglect them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's like our fault that we neglect them. Really, it's like we are the ones that stand in our own way. No one is standing in our way. It's just
Right.
us.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
breaking down that wall, like Romy said, like we have to break down that wall in our heads, in our hearts. So
Hmm. It's important.
yeah.
And I will just say this thought. What was important for me too, I didn't want to get to the end of my lifetime, when you're at that golden gate and then they're like, oh, you missed an entire
Yeah.
purpose. Like you missed an entire opportunity. Like this is what your life could have been like. But
Yes.
instead, you became a vice president at this company and retired with like your 401k. But like this is the other version of your life.
That you
Like
could have had.
that to me, in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to get there and like realize I missed out on this whole
Yeah.
purpose."
I think
Yeah.
when you say that, I mean, and I know we touched on this like earlier, where you were like, nobody could really tell you what to do or guide you. I have always in my entire life, and Carla knows this and watched me for years. We've been friends forever, but like, I'm always like trying to seek what's like out there, and I've always had this
Mm,
really difficult time, like being like, this is it. Like this can't be it. Like there has
mm,
to just be more. There has to be more. And so every time I would just like
mhm,
break some wall to like go do something, and my friends or family or people would watch and be like, what the hell is she doing now? It was like I
mhm.
just have a hard time being like, this is it. Like I don't want to end
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the end just being so careful. I don't. And it
Yeah.
is like, no, I'm not afraid of, I mean I am more now as a mother, but I wasn't, and I'd love to get back in touch with that part of me that
Mm,
wasn't so walled up with
mhm.
the rules of what it was all supposed to look like.
Is there an Instagram or is there anything that people can follow, your
Yes.
professional Instagram or anything so that
How
people
can
can
they
follow
meet with
you?
you? How can they like tell us all?
Yeah.
Because I'll be like booking my session after this.
Yes.
Where
Yes.
can they reach out to you?
Sure. On my website, christinemcglenchie.com, and my Instagram is at Christine_McGlenchie. And I do so intuitive readings for career, purpose, spirit baby. If you want to look at past lives, I can totally do that. For past lives, I always tell my clients, like, we need a theme to look at. So like if there's something particular, like that you're feeling blocked or stuck, like we could look at past lives when you were your most successful or your most abundant, so that we could bring in some of that energy, or even if it's like something really traumatic. So a lot of the time, for when I'm looking at past lives, it's something, all of our past lives are really messed up, to be completely honest, like especially as women, like we were severely like brutalized. Like people who do the intuitive work, like you're burnt at the stake, like the witch wound is like a real thing. So looking at past lives, I like looking at specific themes. So if there's something calling out to you, like for some reason, like I can't keep money, for instance, like I'm having issues around money, like we need to look at like past lives around money, like why you hold trauma with money, you know, some of that, a lot of that is ancestral.
You're speaking to
Oh.
A
my
lot of that
soul
is
right now. I'm like,
ancestral.
where is the money going? Why can't I ever keep it? So I'm really curious as to,
Yeah.
where
Well,
the
first look at your parents, because that's
well
where like
shit. Well
the
shit.
the human that's where the human part of it comes up, but then it goes even deeper into past
God,
lives. Like there's
yeah.
probably a specific trauma, there's probably something happened in past lives, but I use past lives for healing. Like past lives, to look at a past life to heal something in this lifetime so that you stop repeating it. It's like to end a
Mm.
pattern.
Mm.
Yeah, so then the spirit baby readings and career and purpose.
I'm all
And then I
Wow.
also have like, group mentorship and one-on-one mentorship, but everything's on my website.
Okay.
Carla, I think we need to get into like
Wow.
some group mentorship here. I
Yes.
mean, this
Yes.
is
Seriously.
seriously like
This was incredible. Like
so
I know you
incredible.
gave me yeah, you gave me a snippet of what it was that your effort moment was, but like now having heard it, it's just like, holy shit. Like what an incredible journey that you went on and are still on, that it's going to resonate with so many women, I'm sure.
And teach
And
so
hopefully
many people. Like you're just the
yeah.
things that we're going to look up and want to tap into just from hearing you. And this is why you're doing what you're supposed to do, because whoever's listening or tunes in or catches this, I mean, you're speaking to women and opening up a part of them, including us, that we just aren't tapping into.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, we appreciate you. Yeah.
So
Oh.
grateful. This is why I love what we
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for creating the space. Thank you for trusting something within you and in
Yes.
Carla to
Yeah.
create the space, and knowing that it's needed, and also magnetizing the women that get to, have these conversations with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That means a
Yeah.
lot. That means a lot
Yeah.
because this is really
I
special
mean,
to us.
It is.
absolutely.
Each one of us will say just F it, and then we'll tie it all together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
I'll,
Romy will go first. I'll go second, and then you'll go last.
yeah,
Okay.
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 Just
Just F
F
it.
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 Yay.
Perfect.